Welcome to Thought for the Day. Well, on Wednesday, Derek talked about the funeral of his father-in-law, the evangelist Peter Newman. He talked about the gathering that was in North Wales for that funeral on Wednesday. And I was very privileged to be one of the people there, as Derek and Elaine had asked me to take the funeral. It was a remarkable occasion. It may be possible to watch it afterwards. It was recorded and streamed, but the recording isn't available yet. But I wanted to share just one moment from that funeral with you. It happened after Jonathan, Peter's son, and Derek had both talked about Peter. Jonathan had talked about what a remarkable man Peter was, how privileged he was to have him as a dad, really, what it meant to be Peter's son. It was quite a humbling talk. It was very heartfelt, few minutes from Jonathan. Then Derek had brought messages from people all over the world, wanted to send greetings to the funeral. And finally Derek had given an outline of the 91 years of Peter's life. And he ended by talking about saying that Peter's legacy was not just his natural descendants, his children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, but also the scores of adults and children around the world whose lives have been changed because of knowing Peter. And at that point I had to stand up and take over the funeral again. And they'd said their piece, it was now over to me. And in that moment, two things struck me. The first was how completely undeserved the privilege was of being there. I'd done absolutely nothing to deserve to be taking the funeral of this remarkable man of God. It was just because I happened to be vicar of the church where Derek and Elaine happened to be members at the time when Peter happened to die. Now obviously all those things are not just random happenings, they're in the control of God, but I'd done nothing. I'd done absolutely nothing, and here I was, presiding at the funeral of a man of God, a man whose ministry had touched many lives. And I was just struck by the amazing grace of it. I stood up and said, I don't deserve to be here. And it's a picture, isn't it, of God's amazing grace. In that moment I was really touched by it. But the second thing that I reflected on was that, as Derek had said, those lives had been touched by knowing Peter, and I thought, well, actually, they weren't touched by knowing Peter. They were touched by knowing the one that Peter introduced them to. And the song that their family had chosen to be sung at that point was the famous old hymn, Because He Lives, I Can Face Tomorrow. So I announced the hymn and the music started to play. We weren't allowed to stand and sing, but I could just see the truth of those words impact the family as they were sitting there. Peter had gone. Peter's body at least was dead. I think, I'm sure his soul was alive, but his body was dead. Peter was dead. But because Jesus lived, they could face tomorrow, and I could just see the truth of that impacting their lives as they sat there and they listened, and some would close their eyes and some I just thought a lot of expression, a lot of emotion. It's the truth that because Jesus lives, they could face tomorrow. And of course it's true for us too in these dark times where we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if we'll have a proper Christmas this year. We're trying to work out how we do it within all the rules. We don't know when this epidemic's really going to come to an end. We don't know what the economic effect's going to be. But because He lives, we can face tomorrow. And so I thought I'd give you the chance to experience what they experienced in those few minutes. So I've put a link in the message to this video to the version of that song that we listened to on Wednesday. And maybe you'd like to listen to it too and reflect that because He lives, because Jesus lives, you can face tomorrow. And God bless you, and I'll speak to you again soon.